The average Social Security retirement check in 2026 is $2,081 a month. Most retirement planning tells you that is not enough, but there are places in this country, real places, with grocery stores and city halls and neighbors, where that check covers everything, including a mortgage, because some of these towns have home prices that look like typos. One of them has a Zillow median home value of $16,536. It sits where two of the greatest rivers in North America meet. It was once considered a candidate to become the national capital of the United States. Today, it has 1,733 people and a single grocery store that only opened a few years ago. That story is number one on this list. Stick with us all the way to the end. If you love deep dives into forgotten American places, subscribe now. We find these stories every single week. Today we are counting down 10 ghost towns where you can retire on Social Security alone with homes under $40,000. Number 10. Hartshorne, Oklahoma, the company town that forgot to leave. There is a Russian Orthodox church in rural southeastern Oklahoma with Cyrillic lettering on the facade. It was built in 1916 by Ukrainian and Russian coal miners working the seams of the Indian Territory, and it is on the National Register of Historic Places. That is the first thing you should know about Hartshorne. The second is that it started as a full company town. The mine operator provided the houses, the store, the church, the scrip that workers spent at company establishments. The coal ran out, the company left, and the town stayed. Today, about 1,947 people remain, 20.7% of them over 65. Homes start at $30,000. Oklahoma does not tax Social Security. The church is still there, and it is still improbable. Number 9. Bluefield, West Virginia. Nature's air-conditioned city. The city sits at 2,600 feet elevation in the Appalachians. On the rare days when the temperature exceeds 90 degrees Fahrenheit, city officials hand out free lemonade. That is not a joke. That is the policy. Bluefield's population peaked at 21,506 in 1950, built on coal and the Norfolk and Western Railway. The last passenger train stopped in 1979. By 2020, fewer than 9,700 people remained, a drop of more than 55%. The architecture from the railroad era is still downtown, frozen in place. The cost of living is roughly 21% below the national average. West Virginia does not tax Social Security. The lemonade is free. The history is dense. The trains are gone. Number 8. Youngstown, Ohio. Black Monday. The 19th of September, 1977, Youngstown Sheet and Tube announced the closure of its Campbell Works plant. 5,000 jobs gone in a single morning. Historians mark that date as the opening event of the American Rust Belt era. The city had peaked at 170,002 people in 1930. By 2024, it was under 60,000, a loss of more than 65%. Vacant housing now represents roughly 14% of the city's entire housing stock. Here's the thing. In 2005, Youngstown formally adopted the Youngstown 2010 plan, which explicitly acknowledged the city was shrinking, tore down vacant homes, converted empty lots to green space, and accepted it would never return to its peak size. That plan became a Harvard Business School case study. Homes in inner neighborhoods sell for under $40,000. Ohio does not tax Social Security. The National Association of Realtors rated the Youngstown Metro the most affordable in the entire country in 2024. Bruce Springsteen wrote a song about it in 1995. The mills are gone. The city is still ranking things. Number 7. Saginaw, Michigan. Most dangerous to move in ready. Saginaw sits on a flat river valley in central Michigan, former Ojibwe territory that became a fur trade post, then a lumber hub, then an auto manufacturing center. General Motors ran major plants here. When GM restructured in the 1970 seconds and 1980 seconds, the city hemorrhaged population down more than 55% from its 1960 peak of roughly 9.8. At its worst, in multiple years around 2012, Saginaw was ranked the most dangerous city in America per capita. A higher per capita murder rate than Detroit in a period when Detroit was considered one of the most dangerous cities in the country. The median home sale price today is $64,000 per Redfin data from October 2025, with individual homes available well under $40,000. Michigan does not tax Social Security. And directly southeast of the city, free to enter, is the Shiawassee National Wildlife Refuge, one of the largest wetland ecosystems in Michigan. The same zip codes that led the country in murder rates now border 45,000 acres of protected wetlands. Number 6. East St. Louis, Illinois, directly across the river. Stand on the levee in East St. Louis and look west. You are looking at the Gateway Arch. 630 feet of stainless steel, the icon of American westward expansion, visible from streets where entire city blocks have been vacant for decades. The city peaked at 82,294 people in 1950. It now holds fewer than 18,000, a decline of nearly 80%. The median home sale price as of April 2026 was $25,000, confirmed by both Redfin and Movato. East St. Louis was built on meatpacking, aluminum, and railroads. A 1917 race riot left between 39 and 100 people dead, depending on the source. One of the worst racial massacres in American history. Today, 32% of residents live below the poverty line. Jackie Joyner Kersee, three-time Olympic gold medalist and one of the greatest athletes in history, is from here. Illinois does not tax Social Security. The arch is still visible. It does not look back. Number 5. Gary, Indiana. The city a corporation built. In 1906, United States Steel purchased approximately 10,000 acres of drained swampland along Lake Michigan's southern shore and built a city from nothing. They named it after Elbert H. Gary, the company's chairman. They called it the City of the Century. At its peak around 1960, roughly 178,000 people lived here. Gary Works was the largest steel-producing facility in the world. The workforce at that plant alone stood at over 30,000 in 1970. By 2005, it was 7,000. A 2015 survey found approximately 13,000 properties in Gary blighted or in visible disrepair, more than one-third of the city's structures. In 1994, Gary's murder rate was 91 per 100,000 residents, the highest in the United States. Individual homes sell for under $40,000 across the city. Indiana does not tax Social Security. The South Shore Line commuter rail still runs to Chicago, 30 miles north. The City Methodist Church from 1926 still stands downtown. Gothic Revival walls, no roof, open to the sky. And at 2300 Jackson Street, in the Midtown neighborhood, Michael Jackson grew up. A city built by a single corporation, named after that corporation's chairman, that became both the murder capital of America and the birthplace of the most famous entertainer of the 20th century. Gary did not ask for either distinction. If you are finding these stories interesting, drop a thumbs up and let us know in the comments which of these places surprises you most. We read every single one. And the next 4 entries on this list are considerably heavier than what you have seen so far. Number 4. Flint, Michigan. They switched the water to save money. General Motors was founded in Flint in 1908. The city's fortunes and GMs were the same fortunes. Population peaked around 196,000. Plant closures came in waves. The city went broke. The state appointed emergency managers to run local government. In April 2014, one of those managers switched Flint's water supply from the Detroit system to the Flint River. a decision projected to save approximately $5 million a year. The water was not treated with proper corrosion inhibitors. Lead leached from approximately 18,000 pipes into the water flowing into homes. Roughly 100,000 people were exposed. In 2023, a settlement of $626 million was reached. On the 1st of July, 2025, Flint completed replacement of all lead service lines, a process that took more than a decade. The median home sells for somewhere between $42,000 and $50,000, confirmed across 3 separate data sources. Michigan does not tax Social Security. The water has been declared safe. The pipes are copper now. The cost of switching them back is measured in billions. Number 3. Selma, Alabama. The bridge still has his name on it. Selma sits on a bluff above the Alabama River, 50 miles west of Montgomery. During the Civil War, it was the Confederacy's second most important weapons manufacturing center. Half the Confederacy's cannon were made here. Union General James Wilson burned the arsenal and foundry on the 2nd of April, 1865. A century later, on the 7th of March, 1965, approximately 600 peaceful civil rights marchers crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, headed for Montgomery, and were attacked by state troopers with billy clubs and tear gas. The day became known as Bloody Sunday. The televised images shocked the nation and drove the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The bridge they crossed was named for a Confederate general who was also a Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. That name is still on the bridge. Selma's population has since fallen from a peak of roughly 28,000 in the 1,960 seconds to approximately 15,500 in 2026, still declining at about 2.4% annually. The poverty rate is 30%. The Zillow Home Value Index is $57,367, with Redfin recording actual sale prices as low as $18,000. Alabama does not tax Social Security. Every year, thousands of people come to walk across the bridge. Most do not stay the night. Number 2. Detroit, Michigan, the city that built the cars and filed for bankruptcy. Detroit's population peaked at 1.8 million in 1950, making it the 4th largest city in the United States. By the 2020 census, it was 639,111. A loss of nearly 65% of peak population. The Ford Motor Company was founded here in 1903. The auto industry created one of the largest black middle classes in American history through accessible manufacturing wages. In July 1967, the 12th Street riot left 43 people dead and over 2,000 properties destroyed. The white population began leaving for the suburbs, taking tax revenue with them. The auto industry restructured, cutting tens of thousands of jobs. In 2013, Detroit became the largest American city ever to file for bankruptcy. Michigan Central Station, the Grand Beaux-Arts Rail Terminal, sat abandoned from 1988 until Ford purchased and began restoring it in recent years. Today, the city's Zillow Home Value Index is $78,601, with individual listings starting at $25,000. Michigan does not tax Social Security. Detroit was the birthplace of Motown Records, and then Motown moved to Los Angeles. The city that made the American dream on the assembly line then watched the assembly line leave. It is still deciding what comes next. Number 1. Cairo, Illinois. Where the rivers meet. You drive south through Illinois for a long time. The land has been flat for hours. Then the road narrows and the levee walls rise on either side of you, high as a 2-story building, and you realize you are passing below the level of the water. You enter the city through a gap in the earthworks. The streets are there, curbs, sidewalks, hydrants, but the buildings behind them are not always there. Entire blocks cleared. A 1,920 seconds movie palace called the Gem Theater, now a shell. The downtown historic district, essentially the entire downtown, on the National Register of Historic Places, most of it quietly coming apart. At the tip of the peninsula, at Fort Defiance State Park, you can stand and watch the Ohio River flow into the Mississippi, two of the continent's great rivers, converging right here. A Baltimore investor named John G. Comices bought 1,800 acres at this confluence in 1817 and named the town after Egypt's capital. He believed it would be equally legendary. In 1861, General Ulysses Grant ran his Western Army campaign from Cairo's waterfront, and the city briefly looked like it might matter. More than 3,000 formerly enslaved people settled here after the Civil War. Then the flooding came, then the railroads left, then the river trade collapsed. In 1970, Cairo became a battleground. More than 100 consecutive nights of gunfire between black residents and white vigilante snipers. The National Guard deployed. By 2017, the city had no grocery store. A new one opened that year, and it was local news. The school district's graduating class of 2018 had 26 seniors. The 2020 census counted 1,733 people. The Zillow Home Value Index is $16,536. Illinois does not tax Social Security. The two rivers do not know any of this. They were here before the city, and they will be here after. And from the levee on a clear morning, they are still one of the most magnificent things you will ever see in this country. These 10 places are real. They have mayors and mail carriers and people who have lived there their entire lives. What they share is a collapse so severe it pushed home prices below the cost of a used car, and in some cases, well below that. The average Social Security check in 2026 is $2,081 a month. In the right town, that is enough. For me, the entry that stays is Cairo, a city at the junction of two great rivers, with a Zillow value of $16,000 that was once a candidate to be the capital of America. That combination of grandeur and collapse is something I keep coming back to. Which one surprised you most? And are there places like these near you that the country has not heard of? Let us know below. If you want more stories like this, subscribe. We find them every week.